You've been told a lie, a comforting one perhaps. You've been told that silence is powerful, that retreating into yourself, pulling back, disappearing into the shadows would somehow bring them to their knees. That by vanishing you would make them miss you, regret losing you, or suddenly see your worth. But let me ask you, has it ever truly worked? How many nights have you spent in silence, waiting for that text that never came? How many mornings have you woken up thinking maybe today they'll realize what they lost? Be honest with yourself. What did that silence bring you? Peace or more pain? Did it liberate you, or did it leave you trapped, replaying the same conversations, the same scenarios, the same unfulfilled hopes? The truth is, silence is not the weapon you've been told it is. It's not a secret strategy that unlocks someone's love, remorse, or attention. Silence, when wielded without strength and purpose, becomes a cage, one you build for yourself. And here's the harsh reality that most won't tell you. They're not sitting there, tormented, wondering where you went. They're not consumed by guilt or regret. They know why you're silent, and that knowledge strips your silence of its power. Silence in their eyes doesn't confuse or unsettle them, it reassures them. Why? Because they've seen this game before. They know its every move. To them, your silence doesn't mean mystery. It means predictability. But what if there's a way to reclaim your power? What if you could step out of this cycle, not with silence, but with something far greater? Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in clarity, action, and self-mastery, not in hoping others will interpret your silence as strength. It's time to stop playing their game and start living by your truth. Let me take you on a journey, a deep dive into the 7 key truths that will not just break the illusion of silence, but also rebuild you into someone they can no longer touch. Each truth will challenge your assumptions, provoke your thoughts, and demand action. So buckle up, because this isn't just another self-help guide. This is the wake-up call you've been waiting for. 1. The trap of silence. What does silence mean to you? Does it feel like power, or does it feel like punishment? Be honest. Are you using silence to protect your peace, or are you using it as a weapon, hoping it will wound someone else? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence is only powerful when it comes from a place of genuine indifference. When it's rooted in fear, pain, or hope that someone else will notice, it doesn't empower you, it poisons you. It's like drinking salt water to quench your thirst. The more you rely on silence to make them feel your absence, the more you drown in your longing for their presence. Ask yourself this: do they even notice your silence? Or are they relieved by it? Think about the last time you pulled away. Did they chase you? Did they seem tormented by your absence? Or did they move on untouched and unaffected while you stayed stuck in a loop of what-ifs and maybes? Silence, when used as a tactic, keeps you tethered to their world. It's not an exit, it's a pause. A game move. A signal that you're still playing. And the worst part, they know. They know you're sitting there waiting. They know your silence isn't permanent. They know you'll break eventually. That's why your silence doesn't hurt them, it comforts them. It confirms what they already believe. That they still matter to you, even when you're not speaking. But here's where Stoicism flips the script. The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us that control begins with the self, not with others. Silence becomes powerful only when it's no longer a strategy but a state of being. True silence is not about withholding words in the hopes that someone will notice. It's about no longer needing to say anything at all. It's about cutting them off, not as a punishment but as liberation. Imagine this. Instead of sitting there counting the days until they miss you, you decide to live your truth. Not as an emotional outburst, but as a quiet, unapologetic statement of who you are now. You let go, not because they've asked for forgiveness or closure, but because you've decided you deserve peace more than you deserve answers. Silence without truth is weakness, but silence backed by truth, that's untouchable. When you own your truth, you stop playing their game. You become unpredictable. They can't manipulate what they can no longer read. And here's the real kicker. When you stop caring, truly stop caring, they'll feel it. Not because you're trying to make them, but because your energy will no longer orbit their world. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to break free from the trap of silence? Are you ready to stop waiting, hoping, and hurting? If the answer is yes, then say this out loud. I own my truth. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Claim it. Let it be the first step toward reclaiming the life you deserve. Because here's the thing. Silence is only a prison if you let it be. The door has been open this entire time. All you have to do is walk through it. And when you do, you won't just leave them wondering what happened. You'll leave them realizing they never had power over you in the first place. 2. The power of speaking your truth. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why silence feels so heavy? Why, despite being told it's the ultimate weapon, it often feels like a burden you carry alone? Think about the nights you've stayed awake, biting your tongue, holding back all the things you wanted to say. Did it make you feel stronger or smaller? The reality is, silence often traps us in the very pain we're trying to escape. Every unsaid word, every unspoken truth becomes a weight pressing on your chest. And here's the hard truth you might not want to hear. They're not losing sleep over your silence. They're not sitting there haunted by your absence. They're relieved. Your silence isn't a punishment to them. It's a gift. It's permission for them to move on without guilt while you're left holding the emotional weight. But let me ask you, what if you could lay that weight down? What if, instead of staying silent, you spoke your truth? Not with anger or drama, but with clarity and strength. What if you stopped playing the game of who can care less and simply said, I don't care anymore? Can you imagine the freedom of no longer needing to be heard by them because you finally listened to yourself? Here's what Stoicism teaches us. Truth is not just a weapon, it's liberation. When you speak your truth, you shatter the lies that have kept you chained. Lies like maybe they didn't mean to hurt me. Lies like if I wait long enough, they'll come back. Lies like my silence will make them realize my worth. These lies are not protecting you, they're imprisoning you. Ask yourself this. Who benefits from your silence? Is it you? Or is it them? The person who hurt you, abandoned you, manipulated you, they thrive in the shadow of what you don't say. They count on your silence because it gives them power. Every time you hold back your feelings, they remain untouchable. But the moment you speak your truth, the moment you stop pretending everything is fine and lay it all out, calm, unapologetic, real, they lose control. And no, speaking your truth doesn't mean you owe them an explanation. This isn't about them, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your voice, your worth, your identity. There's a profound freedom in saying, this is how I feel, and I don't need you to validate it. You're not seeking closure from them, you're giving it to yourself. That's power. That's Stoicism in action. Imagine what it would feel like to say everything you've been holding back, not to hurt them, but to heal yourself. To let go of the words that have been poisoning you from the inside out. Picture yourself standing tall, looking them in the eye, and calmly stating the truth they've been avoiding. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with a quiet, unshakable confidence that says, I know who I am, and I don't need your approval to be free. Now, you might be thinking, what if they come back when I finally speak my truth? Good. Let them try. By then, you'll be someone they can no longer manipulate, someone they can't predict or control. Because here's the thing, when you speak your truth, you stop playing their game. You break the cycle, you rewrite the rules, and most importantly, you free yourself from the need for their reaction. Whether they apologize, argue, or disappear becomes irrelevant because your truth isn't about them, it's about you. But let me warn you, speaking your truth isn't easy. It's not a soft, comforting thing. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it shakes the ground you've been standing on. But isn't that exactly what you need? Haven't you been standing still for too long, trapped in the silence, hoping they'd somehow notice your pain? It's time to set yourself free. And freedom begins with truth. There's a story I once read about a man who stayed silent in a toxic relationship, thinking it was the mature thing to do. He avoided conflict, buried his feelings, and told himself that silence was strength. But the more he stayed quiet, the more his partner took advantage of him. One day he finally broke. He sat her down and told her everything, how he felt, what he wanted, what he could no longer tolerate. Do you know what happened? She didn't change. She didn't apologize. But something inside him shifted. For the first time in years, he felt free. Speaking his truth wasn't about changing her. It was about reclaiming himself. So let me ask you, what's holding you back? Fear, doubt, the hope that silence will somehow bring them back. Stop waiting. Stop holding it all inside. Speak your truth, not for them, but for yourself. Say it out loud. I will no longer carry the weight of unsaid words. Write it in the comments. Declare it, claim it. And while you're here, if this resonates with you, like this video and comment number 1 below. Let me know you're ready to own your truth. Don't just watch from the shadows, be part of this movement. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. There's so much more to come. Together, we're not just surviving, we're rising. Your truth is waiting to be spoken. What are you waiting for? 3. Silence as a weapon vs. a gift. Have you ever stopped to consider who your silence is really for? Is it for them, or is it for you? Think about it. When you pull back, when you disappear into the shadows, what's your true intention? Are you trying to reclaim your peace, or are you secretly hoping they'll notice your absence? Are you seeking freedom, or are you waiting for a reaction? Silence, when used as a weapon, rarely delivers the result you're hoping for. You imagine them lying awake at night, haunted by memories of you, consumed by regret, aching for your return. But the harsh truth, they're not. Your silence doesn't punish them, it frees them. It gives them permission to move on without having to face the consequences of what they did. While you're sitting there replaying every conversation and questioning everything, they're out there living, unbothered, untouched, and completely unaffected. Here's where the real pain lies. You thought your silence would leave a void in their life. You believed it would make them miss you, realize your worth, or feel the sting of your absence. But the truth is, they don't feel it. They're not suffering in the way you imagine, because for people like them, silence isn't a punishment, it's a comfort. It's space. It's permission to forget you while you remain stuck in a prison of your own making. Ask yourself this: how many times have you stayed silent, hoping they'd notice, only to feel more invisible? How often have you withheld your voice, your feelings, your truth, thinking it would make them miss you, only to realize they weren't even looking for you? Silence in these moments becomes a mirror, not for them, but for you. It reflects the ways you're still attached, still hoping, still waiting. But here's the shift you need to make. Silence isn't powerful when it's rooted in expectation. It becomes powerful when it's rooted in choice. When you stop using silence as a way to communicate pain or longing, and instead use it to create peace for yourself, everything changes. Silence, when truly embraced, becomes a gift not for them, but for you. Consider this. What if you stopped using silence as a tool to make them notice and started using it as a boundary? A way to protect your energy, your time, your emotional well-being. Instead of retreating into silence, hoping they'll reach out, you choose silence because you no longer need to engage. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need them to understand. This is where Stoicism offers profound wisdom. The Stoic mindset teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our responses, our inner peace. Silence, when wielded through the lens of Stoicism, isn't about them at all. It's about reclaiming your space, your strength, your sovereignty. It's about stepping back, not because you're waiting for them to chase you, but because you've decided they no longer have a place in your life. I think about the weight you're carrying, all the unsaid words, the unresolved emotions, the unanswered questions. What if you could lay it all down, not through dramatic confrontations or tearful goodbyes, but through a quiet, intentional decision to let go? What if you could use silence, not as a weapon, but as a declaration of your independence? Imagine this. You no longer wait for their text, their call, their apology. You no longer check your phone, replay scenarios, or wonder if they're thinking about you. Instead, your silence becomes a sanctuary, a place where you rebuild yourself, not in reaction to them, but in alignment with your own truth. Your silence isn't a message for them. It's a message to yourself that you are enough, exactly as you are, without their validation or attention. And here's the most beautiful part. When your silence is rooted in peace rather than pain, it doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. You stop being a participant in their game. You stop being someone who reacts, who waits, who hopes. Instead, you become someone who acts with intention, who moves forward without hesitation, who knows their worth is not defined by someone else's recognition. There's a powerful metaphor here. Imagine a throne. Every moment you stay silent, hoping they'll notice, you're building that throne higher. You're placing them above you, giving them control over your emotions, your thoughts, your life. But what happens when you stop? When you walk away, when you no longer care whether they're looking, whether they miss you, whether they feel your absence? The throne collapses. They have nothing left to sit on because you've removed the foundation, your attention. This is what silence as a gift looks like. It's not about withholding, it's about releasing. It's not about hurting, it's about healing. It's not about them, it's about you. You choose silence, not because you want them to feel your absence, but because you've decided to fill your life with something better, your own presence. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop building thrones for people who don't deserve them? Are you ready to let go of the silence that suffocates and embrace the silence that soothes? The choice is yours. It always has been. Your silence can either be a weapon that backfires or a gift that sets you free. Which will you choose? 4. The comeback. Thriving beyond their reach. What if I told you that the greatest revenge isn't silence, it's thriving, not surviving, not getting by. Thriving, rising so far beyond their reach that their opinions, their manipulations, their absence no longer matter. What if, instead of wasting your energy on silence, you invested it into becoming someone who doesn't just walk away, but someone who builds a life so fulfilling, so radiant, that they can't even fathom where you've gone? Let's face it, they thought they had you figured out. They believed you would stay stuck, replaying the pain they caused, wondering what went wrong, waiting for them to notice. They counted on your silence being a pause in their game, not the end of it. But here's the truth. They were never prepared for your comeback. Have you ever asked yourself what it would look like to truly thrive? Not just on the surface, but deeply, authentically. Imagine waking up in the morning and realizing that your thoughts are no longer consumed by them. Imagine walking through your day with a calm confidence that comes from knowing you're living life on your terms. Imagine becoming someone who is so at peace, so fulfilled, that their existence, or lack of it, feels like a distant memory. This is where the real power lies. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Their actions, out of your control. Their thoughts, not your responsibility. But your growth, your healing, your future, that's entirely in your hands. And the moment you decide to focus on yourself instead of them, you begin to reclaim your power. But thriving isn't just about moving on, it's about moving up. It's about becoming so untouchable, so unapologetically strong, that they can no longer recognize the person they thought they could control. Thriving is not revenge born of bitterness, it's freedom born of transformation. When you thrive, you don't just prove them wrong. You prove yourself right. You prove that their best attempt at breaking you wasn't enough. Here's the thing. People like them can handle your anger. They can handle your silence. They can even handle being ignored. But what they cannot handle is your success. It's easy to dismiss someone who's bitter or stagnant, but someone who is glowing, someone who has risen so far beyond the pain they caused, that's what keeps them up at night. So, what does thriving look like? It's not about posting fake smiles on social media or pretending you're happy just to make them jealous. It's about real, tangible growth. It's about setting goals that have nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. It's about pursuing your passions, strengthening your relationships, and building a life that feels like home. Ask yourself, what have you been neglecting because you've been too focused on them? Is it your career, your health, your friendships, your dreams? Thriving means redirecting the energy you've been pouring into someone else and using it to nourish yourself. It means taking all the pain, all the anger, all the confusion they left behind and turning it into fuel. Think about the kind of person you want to be a year from now. Do you want to be someone still waiting for closure, still hoping they'll come back, still replaying old conversations? Or do you want to be someone who has moved so far forward that they couldn't catch up even if they tried? Thriving isn't just about forgetting them, it's about becoming someone who no longer needs to remember. And let's talk about the inevitable. They'll come back. They always do. People like them don't miss you, they miss the control they had over you. They'll wait until they sense you've started to heal, and then they'll reappear, armed with apologies, fake sincerity, and empty promises. I've changed, they'll say. I miss you, they'll insist, but by then you'll see right through them. You won't be the same person who fell for their lies. You'll be untouchable. Imagine their surprise when they try to use the same tricks and they don't work. When their words, once so powerful, bounce off you like raindrops on steel. That's what thriving does. It makes you immune to their games. It turns you into someone they can't manipulate, can't predict, and can't control. And here's the beauty of it. Thriving isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about showing yourself that you are capable of more than just surviving heartbreak. That you can grow from it, rise above it, and build a life that's not just good, but extraordinary. But let me warn you, thriving requires work. It requires looking in the mirror and being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to go. It requires letting go of the fantasy that they'll change, the hope that they'll apologize, the belief that they'll somehow make things right. Thriving means choosing yourself over and over again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So what does your comeback look like? Maybe it's starting a new career, or finally pursuing that passion you've been putting off. Maybe it's rebuilding your health, creating new habits, or reconnecting with the people who truly care about you. Maybe it's as simple as waking up each day and choosing to be just a little better than you were the day before. Whatever it looks like, make it yours. Not theirs, not anyone else's, yours. Because thriving isn't about what they see, it's about how you feel. It's about creating a life that feels so good, so aligned that you wouldn't trade it for anything, not even for their attention. And if you're sitting there thinking, but what if they never see how far I've come? Stop. Their recognition doesn't matter. Your growth isn't for them, it's for you. Thriving means letting go of the need to be seen and embracing the joy of simply being. So let me ask you, are you ready to thrive? Are you ready to stop surviving and start living? If you are, say it out loud. I choose myself. Write it in the comments. I choose myself. Let it be a declaration, a promise to yourself that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. And while you're here, if this resonates with you, like this video and comment number 1 below to show you're ready to thrive. And don't forget to subscribe because this journey isn't over. Together, we're building lives that are not just unshakable, but unstoppable. Your comeback isn't just a possibility, it's a choice. Make it today. Make it now. Let them wonder, not why you went silent, but how you became someone they can no longer touch. 5. Burn the bridge with words. There's something cathartic about endings, true, unambiguous endings. Yet, how often do we avoid them? How often do we let loose ends dangle, hoping they might somehow weave themselves back into the story? Why is it that we hesitate to say what we truly feel, to close the chapter with finality? Could it be that we're afraid of the void that comes after, the silence that follows a bridge burned to the ground? But let's be honest with ourselves. The bridges we're afraid to burn often lead nowhere. They're remnants of broken connections, crumbling paths that only invite us to walk the same painful road again. So why do we hesitate? Why do we leave these bridges intact, even as they continue to tether us to pain, confusion, and regret? You've probably told yourself that silence is the mature way to handle it, that walking away without a word is the best way to rise above. And maybe in some cases that's true. But let me ask you, what are you leaving unsaid? What truths are you swallowing, not because they're unnecessary, but because you're afraid to confront them? Sometimes silence isn't strength, it's avoidance. There's a unique kind of power in saying what needs to be said, not in anger, not in desperation, but with clarity and calm. When you finally lay your truth on the table, not to provoke a reaction, but to liberate yourself, it's like dropping a match on a bridge that's been rotting for years. The fire doesn't just consume the connection, it clears the path for something new, something better. But let's be clear, burning the bridge with words doesn't mean lashing out or seeking revenge. It's not about inflicting pain, it's about releasing your own. It's about ensuring that when you walk away, there's no weight left to carry. No unsaid thoughts, no lingering what-ifs, no mental replay of conversations that never happened. It's about leaving with nothing left behind, not even regret. Ask yourself this: what would you say if you had no fear? If you weren't worried about their reaction, their opinion, their ability to twist your words? What truth would you speak if you were doing it purely for yourself, with no expectation of how they'd respond? Maybe you'd tell them how their actions made you feel, how their betrayals, their lies, their indifference cut deeper than they'll ever understand. Maybe you'd remind them of all the times you forgave, gave chances, stayed silent, hoping they'd change. Maybe you'd say something as simple as, "I'm done," and let that be the full stop to a sentence that's dragged on far too long. There's a certain dignity in speaking your truth with grace. When you choose your words carefully, not to wound, but to free, you reclaim the narrative. You stop letting their actions, their manipulations, or their silence dictate your story. Instead, you write the final chapter on your terms, and that in itself is an act of power. But why words? Why not just leave in silence and call it a day? Because sometimes silence can be misinterpreted. It can be twisted into something it's not. They might convince themselves that your silence means you're still waiting, still hoping, still unsure. But your words, spoken clearly and calmly, leave no room for ambiguity. They're a line drawn in the sand, a declaration that the story ends here. Think of the energy you've spent holding back your truth. All the internal battles, the rehearsed conversations, the things you wanted to say but didn't. What has that silence cost you? And what could you gain by finally letting it out, not recklessly, but with intention? Burning the bridge with words doesn't just close the door on them, it opens one for you. It allows you to step forward without looking back, knowing that you've said everything you needed to say. There's no longer a need to wonder if they understand, if they regret, if they're thinking about you. Because once you've spoken your truth, their understanding, or lack of it, becomes irrelevant. You've freed yourself from needing their validation. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control others, only ourselves. Their reaction to your truth is not your responsibility. Whether they lash out, dismiss you, or try to twist your words doesn't matter. What matters is that you've reclaimed your voice. You've chosen clarity over ambiguity, action over passivity, freedom over fear. Imagine standing on that bridge, the one built from years of unresolved pain, unspoken words, and unmet expectations. You've been waiting there, hoping they'll meet you halfway, but they never do. They never will. And now you're holding the match, not out of anger, not out of spite, but because you're ready to move forward, because you're done waiting. Picture yourself lighting that match. Watch as the flames consume the bridge, each plank of wood representing a moment of hurt, a broken promise, a lingering doubt. As the fire burns, you feel lighter, freer. By the time the bridge collapses into ash, you're no longer standing there. You're walking away, unburdened, ready to build something new. And here's the most important part. You don't look back. The bridge is gone, and with it, the temptation to revisit the past. There's no need for closure from them because you've already given it to yourself. Your words were the final act, the full stop to a chapter that no longer serves you. Ask yourself, what's stopping you from burning that bridge? Fear? Doubt? The hope that somehow, someday they'll change? Let go of those illusions. Let go of the need to hold on to something that only causes you pain. Speak your truth, light the match, and walk away. When you do, you'll find that the silence left behind isn't heavy, it's peaceful. It's no longer the silence of waiting, hoping, or longing. It's the silence of freedom, the calm that comes from knowing you've done everything you needed to do. It's the sound of a weight being lifted, of a new chapter beginning. So what truth are you ready to speak? What bridge are you ready to burn? The choice is yours. Always has been, always will be. 6. Their apology is a trap, not closure. How many times have you replayed the same scene in your mind? They come back, apologizing, their voice trembling with regret. They admit they were wrong, that they hurt you, that they miss you. In this imagined moment, their apology feels like the balm that will heal the wounds they caused. It feels like closure, doesn't it? But let's pause here. Let's question this deeply. Would their words truly fix what they broke? The truth you might not want to face is this: an apology is often not what it seems. It's not a bridge to peace, but a trap. And the most dangerous part, it doesn't look like one. It comes disguised as the resolution you've been craving, the validation you've been waiting for. But ask yourself, when has a simple "I'm sorry" ever erased the pain? When has it undone the damage? If you're honest, you know the answer. Here's the harsh reality. Their apology is rarely about healing you. It's about controlling you. They apologize when they feel you slipping away, when they sense their grip on you loosening, when they realize you're starting to reclaim your power. It's not an act of regret, it's a strategy. They've done this before, haven't they? Just enough words to reel you back in, just enough emotion to make you question everything again. Let's break this down. When someone like them apologizes, it's rarely about accountability. It's about access. They say what they think you want to hear because they know you've been waiting for it. They know the exact moment to strike, when you're starting to heal, when your silence feels real, when you're on the brink of letting go. "I'm sorry," they'll say. "I didn't know I hurt you." Or worse, "I've changed." Have they? Really? Stop and think. What happened the last time they apologized? Did they change? Or did they slip back into the same patterns the moment they felt safe again? Did their words lead to action, or did they simply reset the cycle? You've seen this before. You know this game. And deep down, you know how it ends. Their apology is bait. It's not meant to heal you, it's meant to keep you hooked. It's a band-aid over a bullet wound, temporary, superficial, and incapable of addressing the real damage. And here's where Stoicism offers clarity. Closure isn't something you get from them. It's something you give to yourself. Their words will never bring you peace, because they're not designed to. Peace comes from acceptance, from finally seeing the truth for what it is and choosing to move forward. So let's ask the real questions. Why are you still waiting for their apology? Do you believe it will undo the hurt? Do you think it will make you whole again? Or are you hoping it will validate your pain, prove that they cared, and make the past make sense? The truth is, it won't. It can't. Because their apology isn't about you, it's about them. It's about maintaining control, keeping the door open, ensuring they still have a place in your life. Imagine this: they come back, tears in their eyes, saying all the things you wanted to hear. You feel a flicker of hope, a spark of possibility. But then what? Does their apology undo the nights you cried yourself to sleep? Does it erase the moments you doubted your worth? Does it change who they are and what they've done? Or does it pull you back into the same cycle, the same patterns, the same pain? People like them don't fear losing you, they fear losing control over you. When you're gone, truly gone, they lose their power. They lose the comfort of knowing you're still there, waiting, hoping, holding on. That's why they come back, not out of love or regret, but out of fear. They don't miss you, they miss the version of you that forgave, that tolerated, that stayed. And if you let them back in, they'll find that version again. Because they've seen it before. They've counted on it. But what if this time you didn't? What if this time their apology wasn't enough? What if you stopped waiting for them to fix what they broke and started healing yourself? Imagine the power of looking them in the eye, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with quiet resolve, and saying, "I don't need your words to move forward." Imagine the freedom of no longer needing their validation because you've already given it to yourself. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. It's not a gift they can give, it's a choice you make. It's the moment you stop replaying the past, stop hoping for a different ending, and start writing a new story. It's the realization that their apology isn't necessary for your healing, because your healing isn't about them, it's about you. But let's be clear. This isn't about denying your pain or pretending you don't care. It's about facing the truth with courage and clarity. It's about acknowledging the hurt, processing it, and choosing to let it go, not because they apologized, but because you deserve peace. Imagine a life where you no longer wait for their words, where you no longer need their acknowledgement, their remorse, their approval. Imagine waking up each day knowing that you've reclaimed your power, not through their apology, but through your own strength. That's the essence of Stoicism, finding freedom within yourself, independent of others. So what will you choose? Will you continue to wait, hoping they'll say the magic words that will somehow make everything better? Or will you choose to move forward, knowing that their apology is just another tool in their game? The choice is yours, and it always has been. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. Write it down if you need to. I don't need their apology to heal. Say it out loud. Let it sink in. Because the moment you stop waiting for their words, you take the first step toward your freedom. And while you're here, if this has opened your eyes, like this video and comment number 1 to show that you're ready to break free. Subscribe for more empowering truths like this, because this journey isn't over yet, it's just getting started. You don't need their apology. You need your own permission to heal. Give it to yourself today. 7. Your comeback is the only revenge they can't handle. What does revenge mean to you? For some, it's about inflicting pain. For others, it's about seeking justice. But let me propose something radical. The greatest revenge isn't about what you do to them. It's about what you do for yourself. It's about living a life so fulfilling, so extraordinary that they become irrelevant, a mere footnote in your story. They expected you to break. They believed their actions, their absence, their betrayal would leave you stuck, replaying memories, drowning in self-doubt. They counted on your pain to keep you tied to them, orbiting their world even when they were no longer in it. But here's the truth they never saw coming. You are not their cautionary tale. You are your own comeback story. Pause for a moment and reflect on this. What would it feel like to rise so far beyond their reach that their opinions, their manipulations, their very presence no longer mattered? What would it feel like to reclaim your narrative? To write a chapter so powerful, so transformative, that they wouldn't recognize the person you've become? This is the essence of your comeback. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about turning your pain into power, your setbacks into strength. It's about showing yourself that no matter how deeply they hurt you, they could never destroy you. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can, our actions, our responses, our mindset, and release what we cannot. You can't control their behavior or their feelings. You can't rewrite the past or force them to acknowledge your worth. But you can control how you respond to it. You can choose to rise, not in spite of them, but because of the strength you've discovered within yourself. Think about it. They thrive on knowing they've left a mark, on believing that their absence has diminished you. They want to believe they've left scars you'll carry forever. But scars don't signify defeat. They signify survival. And when you rise with those scars visible but no longer painful, you shatter the illusion they've created. You show them that their power over you is never permanent. But let's be clear. Your comeback isn't about them. It's not about showing them what they lost or making them regret their actions. It's about reclaiming your life, your joy, your purpose. It's about building something so beautiful, so fulfilling, that their presence or absence becomes inconsequential. Ask yourself, what have you been holding back because of them? What dreams have you postponed? What goals have you ignored? What parts of yourself have you hidden away? Your comeback begins the moment you decide to prioritize yourself, not out of spite, but out of love. Love for the person you're becoming. Love for the life you're creating. Imagine this. Every step you take toward your goals, every moment of joy you experience, every piece of your life that falls into place without them becomes part of your comeback. Your happiness, your growth, your success, they're not weapons, they're proof that you've moved on. And that's what they can't handle. Here's why. People like them thrive on control. They need to believe they've left an indelible mark on you, that their absence defines you, that you're still tethered to the pain they caused. But your success, your glow, your peace, it takes that narrative and turns it on its head. It leaves them wondering, not why you're hurting, but why you're thriving. It forces them to confront a reality they never anticipated. They didn't break you. Let's talk about the work required for this comeback. Thriving isn't something that happens overnight. It's a deliberate process, a series of choices made every day. It's waking up and deciding to focus on yourself instead of them. It's choosing to heal, even when the pain feels insurmountable. It's taking small, consistent steps toward your goals, even when the progress feels slow. What does this look like in practice? It looks like setting boundaries and sticking to them. It looks like pursuing your passions with relentless determination. It looks like investing in relationships that uplift you rather than drain you. It looks like choosing self-care over self-sabotage. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. And here's the best part. The more you focus on your own growth, the less space they occupy in your mind. The memories that once consumed you become background noise. The feelings that once weighed you down lose their intensity. Your world begins to expand, filled with possibilities they no longer control. Now imagine this. They come back. Because they always do. They return, not because they've changed, but because they missed the control they once had over you. They'll try the same tricks, the same apologies, the same empty promises. But by then you'll see through it all. You'll recognize their patterns, their manipulation, their inability to truly change. And you'll realize something profound. You don't need them anymore. Picture their confusion when their words, once so powerful, no longer affect you. Picture their frustration when they realize the version of you they knew, the one who waited, hoped, and hurt, is gone. This is the power of your comeback. It's not about confrontation or revenge. It's about becoming someone they can no longer touch. Stoicism reminds us that true strength lies in indifference. When you stop reacting to their actions, when you stop seeking their validation, when you stop needing them to feel anything at all, you become untouchable. Your success, your happiness, your peace, they become a reflection of your growth, not their influence. So what will your comeback look like? Maybe it's starting that business you've always dreamed of. Maybe it's traveling to the places you've always wanted to see. Maybe it's as simple as finding joy in the little things, laughter with friends, moments of quiet peace, a life free from their shadow. Whatever it looks like, let it be yours, not theirs, not anyone else's, yours. Let your comeback be a testament to your strength, your resilience, your ability to rise. And when they look back, let them see not the person they hurt, but the person who rose above it all. Because here's the truth. They thought they could break you. They thought their absence would leave you empty, their betrayal would leave you bitter. But they underestimated you. They didn't see the strength beneath the surface, the fire waiting to ignite. They didn't realize that you are not just a survivor, you're a warrior. Your comeback is not about them. It's about you. It's about proving to yourself that no matter what they did, no matter how deeply they hurt you, you are capable of rising. And rise you will. With every step forward, every goal achieved, every moment of peace reclaimed, you'll show yourself and the world that their actions were never your ending. They were just the beginning of your transformation. So rise, not for them but for yourself. Rise not to prove them wrong but to prove yourself right. Rise because you are stronger than they ever imagined. Rise because your story is far from over. And when you do, remember this. The greatest revenge isn't anger or bitterness. It's living a life so full, so vibrant, so extraordinary, that their role in it becomes insignificant. You've heard the truth now. No sugarcoating, no soft edges, no false promises. You've been stuck in their game for far too long, waiting, hoping, replaying the pain. But now you see the bigger picture. Silence isn't the answer when it's fueled by longing. Their apology won't heal you when it's a trap for control. Their absence doesn't define you. The game only ends when you decide to walk away, not with anger, not with dramatic gestures, but with clarity, strength, and purpose. Stoicism teaches us that power doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from mastering yourself. And you, right now, have the choice to take back your life. Let me ask you, what kind of life do you want to build? One where your energy is tied to someone who doesn't deserve it, or one where you rise above, thriving in ways they never anticipated? One where you keep playing the same game, or one where you create a life so radiant, so unshakable, that their role in it becomes irrelevant? You've already begun. By reflecting on these truths, by daring to ask the hard questions, you've taken the first step. And now, it's time to take the next. Speak your truth, not for them, but for yourself. Burn the bridges that no longer serve you, not out of anger, but out of love for your own peace. Reclaim your energy, your time, your worth. Let them wonder why you've gone, why their manipulations no longer work, why their apologies no longer matter. Your silence, when rooted in indifference, becomes peace. Your words, when spoken with intention, become power. Your life, when lived with purpose, becomes the ultimate comeback. So what's next for you? It's time to rise, to rewrite your story, to live unapologetically for yourself. Say it out loud. I am unstoppable. Write it down. Commit to it. Let it guide you as you move forward. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this video and comment number 1 below. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message, someone stuck in the cycle, waiting for answers that won't come. And subscribe, because this journey isn't over. It's only the beginning. Your story is far from finished. The pages ahead are blank, waiting for you to write them. So write boldly, write beautifully, and never look back. You are stronger than the pain they caused, and your future is brighter than they ever imagined. Keep rising, keep growing, and remember, the only game worth playing is the one where you win by becoming the best version of yourself. Here's to your freedom, here's to your truth, and here's to the incredible story you're about to create. Stay unstoppable.